So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our conference call with Sanjeev Bikhchandani of InfoEdge. He's a legendary figure. I don't think I have to introduce him, but since some of you might not be Marcellus clients and you might not have come across Sanjeev before, let me do a quick bio. Sanjeev is the founder of InfoEdge. This is India's one of India's first and most profitable internet plays. I think Sanjeev started it literally from his garage in 1996, and it's gone on to become a multi-billion-dollar business. InfoEdge's businesses include online classifieds. The popular job portal Naukri.com is run by them. We at Marcellus are active users of Naukri.com. They also own the matrimony website Jeevansathi.com. Under Sanjeev's leadership, and this is going to be the focus of today's call, under Sanjeev's leadership, InfoEdge has transformed itself from a pure internet company. It's become an incubator and an investor in many celebrated startups such as Zomato, such as Policybazaar, both of which I'm sure you know are now listed companies themselves, boasting multi-billion-dollar market caps. Sanjeev holds a BA in economics from Delhi University. I'm very proud to say I'm an alumni of the school Sanjeev went to, St. Columbus. He also went on to do a postgraduate degree in management from IIM Ahmedabad. Sanjeev, welcome to our call, sir.
Hey, Saurabh, thanks for inviting me. One clarification, we started in 97, not 96.
97, right, sir. So thank you for joining us. Now, given how much success InfoEdge's venture fund, right? Given how much success InfoEdge's venture fund has enjoyed, we keep getting asked by our clients, what is the secret sauce that the InfoEdge venture fund, that Sanjeev's venture fund has? What is the process that they follow to evaluate early stage companies? Any insights you can give us, sir? How do you guys?
A bunch of insights which I've written down somewhere, but probably kaagaz hai nahi mere paas. But first principle, we do it bottom up, not top down. हम ये decide नहीं करते हैं कि भाई अभी auto classified करना तो auto company ढूंढो. We just meet all startups that come our way, and then we figure out who's doing what and what looks interesting, right? So let's say the team will be screening maybe about 700, 800, 900 startups every quarter. And from those 800, 900, we will invest in maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 in a quarter. 5 is a lot, maybe 3, right? So first principle, you don't know good from bad till you've met a few hundred.
Till you met a few hundred?
Yes. Okay. Well, it's the same thing what Malcolm Gladwell said. He 10,000 hours of practice to become good. So Sachin Tendulkar would not have become Sachin Tendulkar if he had not done 10,000 hours of net practice.
Right.
We will not be good investors if we meet fewer than a few thousand startups. तो अगर क्वार्टर में हम 800-900 मिले तभी जाके हमको समझ में आता है कि क्या अच्छा है, क्या एवरेज है, क्या बुरा है. एंड फिर भी हम गलतियां करते हैं.
Right. Because
there's so much uncertainty early stage, right? And you don't really learn till you make a few mistakes yourself. You know, औरों की गलतियों से आपको उतना समझ नहीं आता है, उतना सीखने को नहीं मिलता है अपनी as compared to your own mistakes. So we have got stuff wrong, and we often get stuff wrong. The truth is that अगर एक दो अच्छी हो गई, so हमारा नाम वहां से बनता है. So you know, right. If you think we get it right always, the answer is that's not correct. We get it wrong often. It's just that we get it right enough times that the wrong ones are sort of people forget about that. Second is you see, if you look at most venture funds which are early stage, they don't put all their money in early stage. In fact, they put only a small fraction of the money in early stage. तो मान लो अगर 100 रुपए इन्वेस्ट करने को है, पहले 20 रुपए जाएंगे अर्ली स्टेज में, बाकी पैसे जाएंगे into later stage of the companies from the early stage that are doing well. So you double down, you triple down.
Right.
So you don't enter a company after early stage, you enter early stage, but the bulk of your capital that goes into any company goes in the later stages of the company you entered early stage.
Right.
So this is important to understand this, right? And that's how you reduce risk, and that's how you maximize return. आपने मान लो 10 में किया या 20 में किया, first check is small. Then 10 में second check किया, then 6 में third check किया. The check size is going up each time.
Very interesting.
Okay. Now, the third thing is that we look at companies solving unsolved problems, which means first mover, innovative. Right? Now, unsolved problem का ये मतलब है कि risk है, but शायद कामयाब हो.
Right.
But अगर me too है, then guaranteed failure है हमारे हिसाब से.
Wow.
So you take calculated risk. Companies and founders who are solving unsolved problems. What is the evidence that he's solving an unsolved problem, he or she? It's something we call natural traction. Now, natural traction means what? कि साहब traffic आ रही है, या app download हो रहा है, use हो रहा है, without any marketing money. And this traffic and traction is going up every month. तो अपने आप बढ़ रहा है. Value proposition बहुत clear होना चाहिए. This is a fantastic hook. ये customer को चाहिए होगा. Customer will want this. Then you look at quality of founder. Sab, will he be good to minority shareholders 5 years out? Can he be a good magnet for talent? Does he have a few skills that are essential? Do the other founders do they have complementary skills? Right? How do they meet? Chemistry कैसी है? One most important, these are important questions. Will he stay for 10 years or 20 years? Because देखिए, India में ना from startup to maturity and IPO 10-15 साल लगते हैं.
Yes, sir.
So Zomato ने लिए 13 साल, also ने लिए 13 साल. We were fast. We took 9 years. Right? Make My Trip took 10 years. Just Dial, I think, took maybe 15-20 years. Matrimony took 15-20 years. India Mart took 15-20 years. So the entrepreneur has to have staying power. Now, these are all judgment calls. When you meet a 28-year-old fellow, I mean, you don't know whether he's going to stay 15 years. Commitment है कि नहीं है.
Right. Probably he doesn't know himself.
Yeah, but then if you ask him, he'll say yes, of course. But you got to assess कि वो सच बोल रहा है, झूठ बोल रहा है. Now, then we look for IP. We look for moat. Does this thing have IP? If it doesn't have IP, can it develop IP? Now IP means brand, algorithm, database, community, content, something which becomes a magnet, becomes a moat. So what is the likelihood? Then you look at network effect. Will this thing likely to have network effect, which basically means will it scale in revenue and profit beyond headcount? Right? Or is it headcount linear with the growth? Now, the flip side of that is operating leverage. Agar network effect has the operating leverage hoga. Right? You look at unit economics, margins. So these 8-10 things you look at, and then you look at 50 other small things. आपने देखा होगा यहाँ पे I have not mentioned market size even once.
Yes, sir.
So according to me, when you're entering new markets, when you're disrupting, market size is hard to predict. What looks like a small market may become a very big market 5 years from now. मुझे याद है when we raised a Series A from ICICI Venture in the year 2000, हमने जो business plan बनाया था, see, we were doing 3 lakhs a month, that's 36 lakhs a year. हमने in our wildest ambition, we had said 4 years out, we will do 12 crores. Now 4 years out, we did 84 crores. We ourselves did not see it. तो जब market बदलता है, जब disrupt होता है, जब नई technology आती है, it's hard to predict.
Yes.
So market size doesn't sort of impress us that much because देखते हैं आगे जाके क्या होता है in the new market. Anything's possible. And so these are some of the things we look at, right? And in the beginning, जब आप early stage में जाते हो, you invest on promise and potential and imagination. Mid to late stage में you have data and evidence.
Right.
So शुरू में there's not much data, not much evidence. There's some assumptions. So you evaluate through this matrix. This matrix we've got. Then you invest, take a leap of faith, and you pray hard.
Right. Very
but hopefully, if you've got a good, solid portfolio approach, 10 में 2 कामयाब होंगी, you'll be all right.
Right.
But every one of those 10, you have to be convinced they will succeed. That's only then you go in.
Right. So, folks, before I get drawn into this incredibly interesting discussion with Sanjeev further, couple of things. We own InfoEdge. We, as in Marcellus, we own InfoEdge in several of our portfolios. We've obviously done our research and invested in InfoEdge after having done research. If you are contemplating investing in InfoEdge, please do your own homework. Don't just rely on the fact that we have invested in InfoEdge. I personally am invested in Marcellus's portfolio, so I also have a vested interest in InfoEdge. And secondly, if you have questions for Sanjeev, please put them in the Q&A box. My colleague Salil will take the questions, curate them, and we've got Sanjeev till 5 o'clock. Let's make the most of having a pioneering thinker in Indian investing in front of us. So Sanjeev, just to carry on that theme, right? The steps you guys take to de-risk the investment. From what I could figure out, a lot of the investment process is about taking risk off the table, right? You start small as you build conviction.
देखो सौरभ ऐसा है कि you make mistakes.
हाँ जी sir.
Some of the companies I've said no to. Okay, it's a long list of extremely valuable companies. So I said no to Flipkart in their pre-series A without even meeting them.
Right.
I was just sent a PowerPoint and I said, yeah, I'm not interested. I said no to Ola in the pre-series A after meeting Bhavish. I said no to taxi for sure. I said no to Big Basket. I said no to health card, lens card. मैंने बहुतों को ना बोला है.
हाँ जी sir.
Right? For whatever reason. Okay. And I've learned along the way that, okay, you said no to some good ones. That's life. But as long as you said yes to some good ones, you're okay.
Right.
So focus on what you said yes to. And if there are enough good ones there, it's okay.
Right. So along this journey, right, you've built.
So to call anybody a genius or visionary, I think thoda overstatement hai. We also get lucky.
Right. So Sanjeev, I think a lot of people in our country had the opportunities that you've had. They've chosen different paths of life and they've done well in their path of life. You've chosen a certain certain style of building an Indian firm, which is quite unique. We don't see too many other companies in our country which have an operating business, which generates cash, and they also have an investing business, right? US में Warren Buffett करता है, हिंदुस्तान में आप करते हो, इसलिए आपको हमारे ख्याल से, in our humble opinion, you're a visionary, and we are very glad that you're a visionary. We can learn from you. So just to sort of come back to your own team, right? To do the sort of things you described, meet thousands of startups, get some right, get some wrong, figure out how to make money in the round, सब कुछ मिला के पैसा बनाना over long periods of time. It takes a certain type of team to do this. Right? It takes a certain type of individual to do this. How have we gone about building this unique team that works under you?
In the beginning, there were 1.5 people. Okay, doing this. So I think what happened. So we got public in 2006, right? And typically in RHP, you have reasons for IPO, right? So then you go public. Then the auditor comes every quarter. Abhi batao kya hua? What is the use of proceeds? Batao ye reasons for IPO. So so the company was profitable. It was making money. So the bank balance was sort of growing larger and larger. So one of the things we put down was inorganic growth. Okay. So inorganic growth, try karte hai bhai. So we went out and we discovered, please, there's no worthwhile targets at a price you want to buy. So then it became, bhai, inorganic growth also means minority stakes. So why don't we invest in some startups, some interesting entrepreneurs out there? उस समय 2007 में इतना venture capital था नहीं इंडिया में जितना अब है. So we went out looking, and slowly we began to invest. So between 2007 and 2012, we invested over 160 crores in about 7 or 8 startups. Right? Now, typically, we are in a business where the lemons ripen early. The bad news comes first.
Right.
देखो जिसको blow up होना है ना, वो पहले 1-2 साल में blow हो जाता है.
Right, sir.
जो कामयाब होता है 10 साल लगाता है. Right. So by 2012, we had got 2-3 blow-ups. We'd put in 160 crores, and 160 crores was significant money for our treasury at that stage. Right. And the results in Zomato and Policybazaar had yet to show up. I mean, they were doing well, all right. but who knew, कहाँ जाएंगे, ठीक है? So it is not clear cut that they were doing well. So we are risk averse, we are conservative. तो हमको डर लग गया. What the, and the analysts were coming and telling Ambrish Raghuvanshi, our CFO then, and Hitesh Oberoi, the CEO, now the CEO, hey, what is Sanjeev up to? He is just a one-trick pony. He got lucky with Naukri. Doesn't mean he can do it a second time. So Hitesh, he's taking the money that you are working hard to earn and blowing it up on his hobby and interest. This is vanity. So मुझे भी डर लग गया कि क्या पता, maybe there's truth in that. And board also said, yeah, be conservative, So for 3 years, we did not invest. For 3 years, we did not invest in a new company. Okay. So 2012-2015 हमने कोई नई कंपनी इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया, बिकॉज हमें डर लग रहा था कि शायद ये कामयाब ना हो और ये जो स्ट्रेटजी है इन्वेस्टिंग की. तो 2016 तक it became apparent that Zomato policy में कुछ हो जाएगा, right? And we felt good about it, and we began to invest again. So 2016 से 2019 में हमने we invested in a bunch of companies that are showing some promise.
Right.
तो अब 2019 में we realized we are victims of our own success. Right. Because Zomato and Policy are looking more and more valuable, and we figured कि अब अगर हम एक blockbuster exit मिल जाए किसी भी साल में, जो is possible, right? Then we might become an NBFC. Because if your operating income is more than if your financial income more than operating income, you become NBFC. Become an NBFC. So boss, then to open a new Naukri sales office, you need RBI permission, right? And we said, yeah, this is crazy. So we said, isko na alag karo AIF mein, this investing activity. So all the old companies were with InfoEdge. Any new company we do now through AIF. From the AIF floated in 2019 mein. And we committed $100 million, ki 250 crore har saal, which was our investing rate. हम डालेंगे. फिर कोविड हो गया 2020 में. Then once again we got scared. हम बहुत डरपोक हैं. मैं भी डरपोक हूँ. So we got scared. We said, what the hell is going to happen? We don't know. So board said, Sanjeev, इसको ना 100 million से 50 million कर लो. And I said, yeah, we've sourced companies assuming it's 100 million. So it's certainly half the portfolio size, half the fund size, then you may lose your full portfolio. So with the board's permission, I went out to raise the balance 50 million. And we got one LP.
Absolutely.
Temasek came in, and now it's Temasek and us, 50 million in that fund. And now we've got fund 2, and we've got 3 more funds that we've just taken clearance from.
Right.
And it's Temasek and us, 50-50. It's a good partnership. It's working. Right? And we continue to invest. Now, अब लगभग 15 लोग हो गए to manage this portfolio size. We have a way of investing. We have only got one person with prior investing experience outside. बाकी सब हमारा homegrown talent है. We believe that there's an InfoEdge way of investing, and that is best learned at InfoEdge. So we grow our own timber.
थोड़ा सा सर एलाबोरेट करोगे InfoEdge वे में और दूसरों के वे में फर्क क्या है?
Yeah, I don't know other people's way. I have sort of told you the principles that we have. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Okay, so can I share my screen?
Absolutely, sir. Hardik, if you can enable that.
It's enabled.
Enable, Sanjeev.
Okay, एक मिनट ठहरो. इधर हो गया.
So whilst we are waiting for Sanjeev to find that exhibit, so folks, this is a point we deliberated on long and hard when we made the investment. Salil led the research, and one point of view was that देखो दुनिया के बड़े-बड़े venture capitalists हैं इंडिया में, उनके पास कितने सारे MDs हैं, कितना सारा पैसा है, पूरी दुनिया की रोलोडेक्स है, और यहाँ पे संजीव and team, InfoEdge and team, based out of Noida and Delhi, can they compete with the global giants, right? And after much research, our team's point of view was the relevant ecosystem in India relevant ecosystem in India जहाँ पे आपकी networking होनी चाहिए, जहाँ पे आपकी connectivity होनी चाहिए, both for raising money and investing. InfoEdge has that in abundance, and hence we went ahead with the InfoEdge investing. Over to you, Sanjeev.
You can see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, so I had just penned down something, not for this meeting, for elsewhere. So this is some stuff, random stuff you believe, right? I mean, इसमें 25-30 points हैं, 50-60 होंगे, मैंने 25 डाल दिए यहाँ पे. So first thing is, this is not my original thought. Size the annual return, बहुत लोगों ने बोला, I think Warren Buffett ने भी बोला है. So we don't believe we should have $1 billion fund. We should believe 100 million, 150 million. That's the size of fund we should manage, right? Because we believe that जब पैसा ज़्यादा होता है, you tend to invest it suboptimally, right? आप early stage में जा रहे हो, so you'd put 5 crores, 10 crores, 15 crores in the first check. उसके बाद you'll do more, right? So 100 million में you can do peacefully 20-25 companies आराम से, and that's a good enough portfolio to manage for the team, right? So don't do too large a fund, right? Second, we have to be humble enough to understand कि हम business नहीं बनाते हैं, हम केवल invest करते हैं. Entrepreneur business बनाता है. So therefore, your skill lies in spotting the right entrepreneur, chasing the right opportunity. Ultimately, he has to run it. It's not your company. Nobody becomes an entrepreneur because they're looking for a new boss.
Right, sir.
They need independence. You give them the space and give them the respect. आप पैसा लगा रहे हो, वो अपनी जान लगा रहा है, right? आपके पास portfolio of investments, उसका जीवन एक ही है.
Right.
So he's betting more than you. Respect that. ठीक है? आपकी अगर एक कंपनी नाकामयाब हुई, और कामयाब हो जाएगी, उसकी अगर एक कंपनी नाकामयाब नहीं हुई, वो तो एकदम फेल हो गया.
Yes, sir.
So respect the entrepreneur. Okay, and I've been entrepreneur myself, boss. It's a very lonely road.
Yeah.
The fears, the apprehensions. You got to be very, very empathetic.
Yeah.
And understand what the guy is going through. अगले महीने में तनख्वाह दे पाऊंगा नहीं दे पाऊंगा, सेल होगी नहीं होगी, अगला राउंड रेज होगा नहीं होगा. These are all existential issues.
Right, sir.
So we have to be very empathetic to start up entrepreneur. That's why, I mean, so many companies fail, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of the points I've covered already, right, in this slide. So this first point, once you invested, boss, this is it's equity. You may have an agreement, but if you think you can actually ever enforce an agreement in court, you can forget about it. So this is more risky than unsecured debt.
Right.
So the relationship with the entrepreneur is key. You've got to have a great relationship. Because एक बार आपने पैसा डाल दिया, there is no recourse. The agreement is not a recourse.
Right.
Agreement is for clear communication. Because आप कोर्ट जा नहीं पाओगे and get any joy out of it. Right? Then, so the third point is, ये मैंने पहले लिखा था. Now, of course, it's obvious to everyone. But मैं एक साल से बोल रहा हूँ कि साहब अब फेड इतना नोट छापेगा तो पूरा सारा एसेट इन्फ्लेट होगा. So don't think you're smart just because people are coming in after you in your startups at a higher valuation, because that's liquidity. Is the business fundamentally sound? Okay? That's important. And the fourth point is really important. That and I've come to believe after couple of decades of being an entrepreneur, that सब लोग upside देखते हैं, कोई risk नहीं समझता. And I'm not talking public market, I'm talking about entrepreneurs. The great entrepreneurs understand and manage risk. They don't take crazy risks. They play for the long run. Yashish Dahiya Parswara told me a very interesting thing once. He said, Sanjeev, I want to run a marathon. My investors want to run a sprint. Because उसका तो exit 5-6 साल में चाहिए उसको.
Right.
but मेरे को कंपनी 30-50 साल चलानी है.
Right.
So how do I fulfill my goals while giving them their objectives as well? That is my tightrope walk and trade-off.
Lovely.
The third last point. So if you look at companies that have scaled up and been profitable in the internet space,
yes, sir,
very often they get their revenue from other businesses. Companies that get their revenue from individuals often take longer to get to profit. And you can apply this to any company and see if it's true or not.
Absolutely.
Okay, Google gets the money from other businesses. Facebook gets money from other businesses. Right? Amazon, the AWS business, I think became profitable much before the e-commerce business.
Yes.
The matrimony business in India, not so profitable. Naukri, highly profitable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is the last point, really important. You got to go today where the herd will go tomorrow. So if the herd is already there, there's too much competition, valuations are high, right? If the herd doesn't go tomorrow, you're in the wrong place.
Right. So Sanjeev, if I can take you up on that last point. So stock market में जैसे हम Asian Paints में लगाते हैं, somebody else says, comes and tells us that new guy has entered, Indigo Paints has entered, उसमें लगाओ. Right? So stock market में it's very popular for people to say XYZ company as a leader in this industry. It has validated the industry. Now let's invest in a new entrant in that space because new entrant सस्ता है, बड़ा कमाएंगे उस पे. How come you don't see that same logic being applied to venture capital?
Yeah. Okay. So listen, I mean, now let's take the case you pointed out. I don't know the paints market, right? I know of Asian Paints. I know of Berger Paints. I don't know Indigo Paints. But if Indigo Paints is not differentiated, and if what it's doing is not defensible, moat nahi hai, so I would be skeptical of returns in the long run. I'm sure Indigo Paints is a very good company. I'm sure it's differentiated. I'm sure it has a moat. So, right. But I would look for a moat and differentiation.
Right. Got it. And
that logic applies in private markets as well.
Right. And just to take you up on the first bullet, before you invest, the entrepreneur needs you. After you invest, you're dependent on the entrepreneur. So are you saying that once you've invested, your value add is modest and you sort of behave accordingly?
So your value add can be huge.
Anji.
But the truth is, agar company chali na, you're dead. So our company अंत में चलाता है, आप नहीं चलाते.
Right.
क्योंकि आपको exit तो मिलना नहीं है, highly liquid. तो जब तक कंपनी कामयाब नहीं होगी,
हाँ जी सर,
आपको उस टाइप का एग्जिट नहीं मिलेगा जो आप चाहते हो. आपको डिस्ट्रेस सेल मिल जाएगा if the company are successful.
Right, sir.
So you need a successful company, boss, and only the entrepreneur make a company succeed. Or winning कर सकता.
Right. So basically, you collaborate with the entrepreneur after investing rather than confront him on उसके लिए.
You can't confront, you can't control. You have to suggest, nudge. You cannot act like you're the boss. He's not a subordinate reporting to you.
Right. Interesting. Third bullet, ये $5 trillion की liquidity, शायद कोई बोलेगा $10 trillion है. Now that the liquidity tide is receding, right? What does that do to your opportunity set over the next decade or so?
Well, so देखिए, wherever you are on the buy side, तो आपको अच्छी deals कम में मिल जाएंगी. Wherever you're on the sell side, you're already in a company. You better hope that those companies get subsequent rounds if they need it. And otherwise, they better conserve cash and try and get to profit on the money they have. And if required, you may need to support them. That's what it means.
Right. So has that already started happening? Because we read in the newspapers that
it's already beginning to happen. See, this is not stuff that people tom from the rooftops. Ki bhai, meri company dub gayi.
Haan ji, sir.
This is stuff which journalists have to go and find out.
Right.
But now, when there was only good news coming, journalists had to go out. The news came to them. और ये 10-12 साल से हो रहा है, 14 साल से हो रहा है. Okay, अब now, अब तो आप बाहर जाके ढूंढना पड़ेगा, because this is not stuff people want to talk about.
I found it very revealing that in the newspapers खबर आई that ये जो IPL का auction चल रहा है, IPL के auction में 3 बड़े American tech companies pulled out of it, and those are arguably the 3 biggest, best funded tech companies in America. And if they pulled out of the IPL auction, in spite of their formidable war chest, right? If you look at the balance sheets of those American tech companies, they have tens of billions of dollars of cash on the balance sheet. And if they pulled out of it, then I think it's a indicator of things to come, vis-a-vis what we'll see in terms of funding availability.
Possibly, yeah, but let's wait and watch.
Okay. So let's hand over to Salil. There's been lots of very interesting questions posed by clients. So Salil, do you mind taking some of those questions and putting them to Sanjeev?
There's one last point. There's one last point.
Go for it, sir. Go for it.
So, there's a investor called Fundsmith. He told me this 4th point.
Yes.
So you don't have a competency in generating outside returns. You have a competency in generating outside luck.
Right.
Okay. And the only way of generating luck outside luck is by managing risk.
Right.
And this is his observation on our strategy.
Right. Fantastic. Sandeep is a good man. He's a good friend of ours.
Yeah. Sorry, you were asking, Marcellus.
Yes. So actually,
so I'll stop sharing. I'll stop sharing screen.
Yes, sir. Please.
1 second. Yeah. How do I stop sharing screen? कैसे करूँ मैं? Stop sharing.
हाँ जी, हाँ.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. हाँ जी, Salil.
Right. So Sanjeev, the first question is from Somnath Maiti, and I think this is a question which a lot of public market investors would have, is that at an early stage, how do you value the company or the business? How do you decide what size of check to cut?
देखो, one is how much does it need, right? Now, if he's a pioneer and he's the first guy, like for example, I tell you, Policy Bazaar was when we invested in Policy Bazaar, it was a PowerPoint. It was not even a site, right? And I asked him, how are you raising? And he said 20 crores. And I said, are you insane? So he says, no, I want 20 crores. He got stuck on it. So I said, 20 crores, you're diluting a lot. So I'll give 49% 20 crores. So I jumped at it. So he goes 49% for 20 crores. Right? And we took it. So that's a bit of the art of the deal. Now, see, valuation. Now, in Zomato, what happened was that we reached out to Dipinder. And he said, are you looking to raise money? He said, yes. I said, are you talking to somebody? He said, yes. So I said, what are you getting? He said, I'm getting $500,000 for 25%. And we said to him that, listen, $500,000 ना आपको 6 महीने लास्ट करेगा. Fundraising में 5 महीने लगते हैं. So you have to start raising money after 1 month, and you will have nothing to show. So you get the same valuation again. तो 1 महीने में आप कुछ कर नहीं पाओगे. So we said raise twice the money, and we upped the valuation. So he was getting $500,000 at 1.5 pre. We gave him 1 million at 2 pre. Right? So in the second case, some benchmark valuation was set. We just a bit above that. Right? But dekho, if you're going green into a company and you're the first check-in, you are not valuing the business. You're not valuing the company. You are saying, iski zindagi ki कीमत क्या है? So what percentage of his life do I deserve to own for how much money? His whole life.
Interesting.
He's betting his life, right?
Right.
He or she, they're betting their lives. So what is the life worth here? And what percentage should I own of this person's life for what kind of money? And then you see round size. Are you comfortable with the risk on the round size? And then, of course, there's competition. The other VCs may be looking at it, and valuation may be set for you. You're part of a larger round. More like cheese. But assuming you're the only one going in, The question is कि जिंदगी की कीमत क्या है?
That's an interesting way to look at it, right? Thanks, Sanjeev. Somnath, hope that answers your question. The next comes from Vivek, and he says, it appears that InfoEdge believes that the time is right for thematic startup investment funds, like say deep tech. Do you believe that there will be more verticalization of startup investments, say SaaS, B2B SaaS, and so on?
No, there are funds who do that. We have got a deep tech pocket, right? But that's because we have a deep tech knowledge and capability. So the CTO of Naukri, former CTO of Naukri, wanted to leave, and we pulled him into investments. So since you know tech, why don't you look at deep tech? Now, deep tech is also high risk because you're betting in day after tomorrow's technology, right? But so far, at least, so we gave him a small pocket to play with from our balance sheet 2 years ago, and I think 35-50 crore उसने invest किए across 10-12 companies, and some of them are looking good now. So we do believe now we are a little less uncomfortable with that risk, and so we said let's make a fund out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's not as if we've got pockets. We have a focus which is internet, tech, right? And B2B SaaS, consumer internet, mobile phone app, hum karte hain. That's a bread and butter. And then we've got a deep tech pocket.
Okay. But there's no trend industry-wide of a more verticalization of.
नहीं, देखो लोग कर रहे हैं, but they're on one or two only.
Okay.
People want a diversified portfolio. See, it's like it's like a small cap fund versus a multi cap fund, or a health sector fund.
Right, same risk. Understood. Akshay, Khalsasi asked that at InfoEdge, do you have an exit strategy, or do you think about exits? If at all, then do you have any set rules or set trends that you look for?
So exit is something we're not experienced in, boss. You see, हम builder हैं business के, हम business बेचते नहीं हैं. Now that's a new skill we have to learn, because some of these businesses we have to exit from. We'll have to exit from at some point in time.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you get return, and that's how you get shareholder value. And if you're running a fund, which you're now running a fund with the third-party money, there will be exits. So we haven't done a lot of exits till now. जो हुए हैं, distress हुए हैं, haircut पे हुए हैं. And that's something we will have to be more disciplined about, and that's an area of learning for me personally.
Okay. And a related question comes from Sushant Pai is that do you have a benchmark or a time frame in which you think that an investment should start looking profitable, or for you to get more confidence before you figure out how long
here's
it's going
the
to
truth.
take?
Here's the truth. अभी तक हमने 50 startup में invest किया है. Right, but outside of Naukri and now Shiksha, almost nobody has made money. But they've all created value. Several created value, not all. Right. I would love to see a company break even and get to profit in 4 to 5 years. But in this environment, it doesn't happen.
Sanjeev, one question is on you touched upon this as collaborating with an entrepreneur once you are invested. How do you look at governance in startups? Is there a way an investor can influence? And we've seen some cases come through which really don't reflect really well on the entrepreneurs or the business.
These kind of things happen when there's too much liquidity.
Okay.
पैसा ज़्यादा है, temptation है. Investors are careless sometimes, right? But investors should ask these hard questions before going in and all along, right? If investors are valuing GMV and or bhejal chal rahi hai to get into a company, somebody may look the other way.
Right.
But I expect a lot of discipline coming now as liquidity dried up.
Okay. So basically,
so Sanjeev, one new trend we are seeing in India in this boom, let's assume that the boom is still underway. We're seeing established corporates do VC style investing, right?
I think that's very good.
You reckon they can go the mile and make these businesses profitable, Sanjeev?
Yeah, I don't know. The jury's out.
Right.
But if there's more capital coming into the startup space, it's a good thing.
Right.
And if it's coming from corporate balance sheets, it means that there isn't a 7-10 year time horizon to exit. Right? This is perpetual capital. And they can stay forever. Therefore, we invested in Policybazaar in 2008. Had you been a regular fund, हमको 2015 तक खुद नहीं हो जाती, exit करो, we would have panicked. But a lot of the appreciation in Policybazaar has come in the last 3-4 years, which is way beyond the time horizon of a regular fund. So to my mind, corporate investing is a very good thing because you have a much longer time horizon, potentially.
Thank you. Cyril, back to you.
Yeah, thanks. The next question is from Siddharth, and again, Sanjeev, he's alluded to a point that you made about how B2B businesses get revenues faster and scale up faster. He asked that over a period of time, maybe if you take a slightly longer time horizon, aren't B2C more likely to become larger and maybe create more value? Is there a kind of a inflection point at which B2B and
No, I
B2C?
wouldn't go with a formula like that. I mean, both can become valuable. I do believe B2B SaaS companies will consume less capital, by and large, on the average, right? Because consumer business consume capital.
Right.
But it all depends on the company. So I can't give a general sort of suggestion of that nature.
Okay. Right. Okay. And then there are a couple of questions on, again, you mentioned about you looking at moats when investing in or trying to identify early stage companies. What moats could a VC fund itself build? Apart from the process that you have, are there areas where you think you can differentiate?
I think investing is about discipline here, and you guys know it better than I do. Right? And we have been indisciplined also. ऐसी बात नहीं है. We made our mistakes, but we've got a few successes, and that's made up for it. Right? But now, 15 years after investing for 15 years, I look back and I say, yeah, it's about discipline.
Okay, right. And so basically you're saying that even if you were to look back on, say, starting from Naukri itself, right, or to the most recent investing you made, you think discipline is the one thing that you would have liked to
discipline is, I think, required. I think you need many things there, but discipline is really important.
Okay. Fair enough. Right. Now, this is one question which I would like to ask, and we have seen some trend in the West on diversity in entrepreneurs in early stage companies. Do you think
when you say diversity,
let's gender diversity, for example, do we need more
listen,
women?
There are more women entrepreneurs now than there were 10 years ago. We ourselves have funded, I think, companies have been at least 5 or 6 or 7 women founders. Okay. That's a lot more than it was 20 years ago. Right. But look, there's nowhere near as many female entrepreneurs as there are male entrepreneurs. And it starts from engineering college here. If your ratios in engineering college are skewed towards men, ratio of entrepreneurs is skewed towards men. As simple as that.
This needs a more fundamental change rather than just.
अगर आपको वो change करना है तो आपको engineering college admission को change करना पड़ेगा.
System बदलनी होगी. Right. Right. Now, here's an interesting question from Ravi, and he says, in your 20 years of investing, what are some of the most interesting conversations you've had with startup founders? They could be good, bad, some anecdotes that you could share.
So, I think one of the most important questions we ask is the idea kahan se aaya? Right? And the answer to that tells you enough things. So one is to say, hey, it's worked in the US, so it'll work in India. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, maybe it's a fluke. A transplanted idea I would not back just because it's transplanted. So I asked Deepinder, so I was using, so Zomato used to be called Foodie. So I began to use Foodie in 2009, right? And what I loved about it was it had all the menu cards. So only one of all the menu cards. So you could actually go see the menu, ki kaun sa dish, kya price pe, kis restaurant mein, and then decide to go there, right? For a meal. So I met Deepinder and I asked him, "Boss, ye idea kahan se aaya?" And he said, I used to work in Bain Consulting in Gurgaon. Working hours were long. You used to have 2 meals in the office, lunch and dinner both usually. Office was mostly male, mostly single, many living away from their hometowns. What it meant was घर से खाना नहीं आता था, right? And often at a cafeteria, which would not serve lunch, but you could bring your own food and have it. So to make life easy for the employees, the admin team had put the menu cards of all the restaurants that delivered to that location into file folders. So that people would come in, and Deepinder said, "Yaar, 1 baje har roz line lega thi. I would get the folder for 2 minutes. I would quickly decide what I want to do, phone up, then come back after 1 hour when the food is delivered. It's huge pain." So one Saturday I came in, and I, scanned all these menu cards and put them on my personal page on the office intranet. So 2 दिन बाद IT infra का बंदा आया. Said, "What have you done? Why is 98% of internal traffic going to your page?" So this penny dropped. Customer give me signal. Aggregation of menu cards has got value. So I went out and aggregated all the menu cards and I built a site. Or traffic aa gaya.
Right.
So customer-led innovation. 10 years before that, we launched Naukri. Based on similar insight. I used to observe all my colleagues reading Business India from the back. Because in those days, Business India had 35 to 40 pages of appointment ads in the back. I used to observe that and I say, "Yeah, this is weird." I thought people, got magazines to read the articles. These guys are reading ads only. And that's when I understood that aggregation of job ads has got value. And that's what we did. And Naukri worked. Right? Policy was, I met Yashish Dhaya. He said, "I'm willing to bet that, you're paying 60% more for your car insurance than you need to." I said, "Don't be silly. I've got a standard car, got it from a dealer. Dealers for insurance, public sector company ka insurance hai, standard insurance, standard price hoga yaar." Says, "Okay, take out your insurance papers." So I took them out and he took down the make of the car, year, kilometers done, all that. And he produced 8 quotes. And the lowest quote was 40% lower than my quote. What I have paid. And I said, "Wow, this will work."
Right.
Okay, so yeah, those are some interesting conversations. I remember speaking to a startup where I asked my second important question, what salary would you like to pay yourself after we invest? So I'm not interested in the answer. I'm interested in the way he's thinking.
Right.
Okay, because you're trying to kick the tires around the founder and say, "Yeah, what sort of guy is he? What sort of person is this? Is he or she? What sort of person is he or she?" Right? And so there was this guy living in London, and I said, "So what kind of salary do you want if we invest? Once we invest?" He said, "I want £100,000. So I woke up. I said, £100,000? That's a lot of money, man, for a startup salary. Then why do you need £100,000? He says, "Well, you see, my current salary is £70,000, and I'm taking a risk, so I need to be paid for the risk." So we passed the deal. Right? The answer tells you a lot.
Right.
Another couple of founders said, "You know what? We want this salary." It looked a bit high to me. I said, "Why do you want this salary?" He says, "Well, you see, we've been out of business school for 4 years. So A, we want parity with our batch, and B, we want to make up for the salary we lost in the last 4 years." And they don't get that the equity they have is more. If the company works, it more than makes up for it.
And, Sanjeev, all of these are conversations. So it's like an interview. Now, in say a couple of hours of chat, do you really get to the character of startup founder, or do you need to do something more, something else?
You do ref checks. You do all sorts of things, but nothing is perfect. You make enough mistakes.
Okay. And talking of mistakes, there's one question from anonymous attendee, and he or she asked that, in your opinion, what could be, say, the major reasons why startups fail? Can you kind of distill them into 2 or 3 reasons why?
No, there are 100 reasons. There are 100 reasons why startup can fail.
Okay.
There's only one reason why startup will succeed. That's the answer.
Okay. That's an interesting.
Startup can fail because market nahi tha. Startup can fail ahead of its time. Startup can fail because competition aa gaya. Startup can fail because recession ho gayi. Startup can fail for 100 reasons. It'll only succeed for one reason: the entrepreneur did it.
Okay. Fantastic.
So let's take the bull by the horns. I think several people are asking questions where the philosophy Sanjeev has espoused, and which clearly works for him and for InfoEdge. Some elements of his philosophy obviously are different from ours. So the first area, Sanjeev, some people asking, Somnath Maiti, for example, is asking that Marcellus keeps saying free cash flow चाहिए, हम उसी कंपनी में पैसा लगाएंगे जहाँ पे free cash flow दिखता है. And Sanjeev is saying कि I'm willing to bet on the entrepreneur. Marcellus DCF valuation, free cash flow, net present value वगैरह की बात करता है. And Sanjeev is taking a very different.
हम भी बात करते हैं.
हाँ जी सर.
हम भी बात करते हैं. Question is 5 साल बाद होगा नहीं होगा.
Right.
So we're taking a bet 5 years out. Is this company capable of making a profit in 5 years, or 7 years, or 10 years?
Right. And do you guys then take a sort of discount rate and usko discount करके?
See, valuation is very often out of the league. Valuation is often competitive. But fundamentally, if you're the only guy doing it, right, in that deal, you're the only person in a startup. Therefore, it's between you and the founder only. The issue is, one other way to do it is, how much capital will this company need over the next 5 years or 7 years? Your round, next round, kitna hoga? And at each stage, if the company is working, how much will the founder dilute? At the end of his fundraising over 5 years, how much will the founder be left with? And does that motivate the founder to stay and work hard? Or are you going to over-dilute him? So the lowest valuation is not necessarily the most sensible valuation. Ultimately, company को कामयाब होना है, तभी आप कामयाब होगे. अगर फाउंडर के पास कुछ बचा नहीं, तो कंपनी कामयाब नहीं होगी.
Right.
And कामयाबी means cash flow, boss. जो आप बोल रहे हो.
Right. And another area
you are investing in inception. So you're going in way before the company goes public, and therefore way before Marcellus comes in.
And folks, this is what Sanjeev is saying. Just to echo that, right? A lot of people have asked us to also do startup or early stage or Series B, Series C investing. The reason we've stayed away and the reason we carry on focusing on the stock market is the skill set that Sanjeev and his team have built is in a different area from our skill set, right? Whether we like it or not, Salil, myself, our colleagues, our skill set lies in doing, say, for example, forensic accounting analysis on 10 years worth of annual reports. Our skill set lies in assessing an established moat. Sanjeev's skill set lies in assessing an opportunity that doesn't even exist. When Sanjeev met Dipinder, there was no food delivery opportunity in India. Sanjeev had the vision, or Dipinder had the vision, to figure out that future में कैसा opportunity होगा. We simply don't. Salil, myself, our colleagues, हमारे पास वैसा vision नहीं है, and therefore our skill set is different. We've therefore stayed away from venturing into the world where Sanjeev and his colleagues invest so successfully. Two different spaces in investing. Each has its own value to the investing ecosystem, and therefore it stands to reason that the way successful VCs operate is a little different from how people in the stock market operate. One area, Sanjeev, just to go back to this issue, Peter Thiel has also written in 0 to 1 that your first mover advantage is not that big a deal. That अगर किसी और कंपनी ने खेल के उसको स्पेस को वैलिडेट कर दिया है, तो फिर आप घुस के उसके बाद आप कमा सकते हो. And therefore Sham Chala is asking us, since Peter Thiel is saying second mover बनने में कुछ गलती नहीं है, it contrasts with your idea, and therefore
actually speaking, I would say it's either first mover or very early mover. अब कोई established incumbent 10 साल से है वहां पे,
Sanjeev.
You better be differentiated and disruptive.
Nicely put. Yeah, I think you brought out the point that it's not about first mover, second mover. Either you are early in venture capital, either you are early or you don't bother participating, right? Salil, do you want to take up these questions? I think Pranav is asking some very interesting questions there.
Yes. So one which he's put in is that, what about the age of the key people at the startup? Does that play an important role? Do you look for young people? Do you look for more experienced, matured entrepreneurs?
I don't want to sound ageist, but अगर 15 साल किसी को company चलानी है ना, you better have enough energy left with him, enough time left with him कि ये 15 साल चला पाएगा कि नहीं. Because 10-15 साल लगते हैं to IPO. Or strategic sales are not happening in India at any kind of valuation if you leave out Flipkart.
Right.
So it means the guy has to go the distance.
And related to that is, why do you think we don't have M&As or strategic exits which happen? Why do we need
Indian
to wait
founders, Indian business houses, when confronted with make or buy, they always believe they can make rather than buy. And if agar buy karna hai, what's the right valuation? And it's usually less than what the foreign VC wants.
Okay. And would this be just
one more
sorry,
question?
sir.
So, a lot of questions people ask, and I think in fact there are academic studies on this. If VC investing, ye luck hai ya skill hai. So Dinesh Vaswani is saying that he heard a managing partner of a well-known successful firm in the US, and that guy has concluded that VC investing is luck. You've done this.
Dono hai.
Luck bhi hai, skill bhi hai, sir.
You see, you got to be skilled at what you do, and then you got to pray you get lucky.
Nicely put. So folks, let me just elaborate on that, giving an example of how Sanjeev helped us. So we obviously make money from holding InfoEdge shares, but distinct from that, I remember 4 years ago, I had gone to Delhi to gift Sanjeev one of my books. I think Unusual Billionaires tha ya Coffee Can Investing tha. So Sanjeev opened the book and he said, "Teri email address is pe nahi hai." So I was a little startled, and he said that, look, people will read the book. If they like the book, they'll want to write to you. So I'd never thought of it like that because, I was a conventional thinker. Mere publisher ne mera email address dala nahi tha. So uske baad, when we wrote the next book, Victory Project, where there's a small chapter on Sanjeev, we put Saurabh at Marcellus.in, and then we wrote Diamonds in the Dust. Salil and I wrote with Rakshit Diamonds in the Dust. फिर से हमने Salil का email address end में डाल दिया. Right? There's just simple insertion of the email address. Right? Just simple insertion of the email address leads to, I would say, 20 emails a week, out of which 2 become clients. Right? So Sanjeev, for around 100 clients a year, we have you to thank for that simple idea. Right? And that's the sort of illustration of luck and skill. Right? हमारे दिमाग में नहीं आया था that if you put the email address, people can reach out to you. Obviously, if 100 people reach out a year just by dint of reading your book, by definition, some of that you will convert. So you're giving yourself a chance of bringing probability into play, and therefore you're giving a chance of making money. Salil, any last questions from you?
Yeah, there are actually 2 questions now, and these are about investing in sectors where traditionally we don't find too many early stage or VC funds. So one is manufacturing, and one is social startups. Any views, Sanjeev? Are these not amenable, or they're not very profitable?
So the point is that दो चीजें हैं. A VC firm will go where it sees a 10x exit possible in 7, 8, 10 years. Typically, these are not manufacturing firms. Because manufacturing gestation period longer, will take more. Okay. Second, capital heavy businesses. At least the VC firms are not very keen on. The PE firms could do it. Growth stage could do it. Late stage could do it. But the VC guys will not do it so easily. So one is 7-8, 10 साल में they have to get 10x, 20x, right, in their heads. Right. Second is how much capital will consume. Third is, agar track record nahi hai of manufacturing to do it, they'll say, boss, we are taking a risk upon risk upon risk. So IT में किया हुआ है, तो IT करो.
Okay. So basically, scalability is something which may
fast track
of
that sector of those kind of companies.
Right. Fair enough. Thanks, Sanjeev. So Saurabh, this is all we have time for. So back to you.
Thank you, Sanjeev. This was great fun. Our 10 cents worth of input is as the funding environment tightens, we think you guys will have plenty of opportunities. That being said, we also think, basis our research, you guys have done plenty of work in the last 4-5 years. It's not as if you were just, I think, sitting at home waiting for the funding environment to tighten. You guys have already done plenty of work. So thank you very much for not just being an investee company and taking time to do the call. Thank you for showing a generation of investors in India that homegrown investment firms in India can amount to being something substantive.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for writing me. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thanks everybody for dialing in. Thank you. Bye.